Mandeville head coach Hutch Gonzales. Coach, my first question is, obviously the wins and losses didn't go how you wanted to in year one, but do you ever catch yourself laughing now, a year later, saying, boy, I'm not going to make those same mistakes again, or I'm not going to do that again? What kind of lessons did you learn personally from year one that make year two better?
That I need help. I mean, most importantly, that we were understaffed, and you never want to make excuses because I'm the one who did it. I thought I could come in here and take over and do everything by myself, and everywhere else I had been, it had been like step in and it's immediate change, but it was on one side of the ball. And then at St. Thomas, the program was much smaller, so you take over and you step right in and you change everything on your own. You only need 5 or 6 guys. At this level, with a program this size and all the ins and outs that you didn't really know walking into it, needed help. So that was the first thing. Delegate some responsibilities. Let other guys do jobs. So.
If year one for Hutch Gonzales at Mandeville was installing everything, installing the culture, installing what we're trying to do here, what's year two going to be about?
Well, I can tell you right now, and Josh has mentioned it before. I know you did your interview with Josh. I call it year zero, and this is year one because getting in as late as we did, last year, putting together a spring in 10 days, and coaching a spring with 4 coaches and trying to go through a summer program where I did everything, and I was the culture coordinator and the head coach and the strength coach and the quarterbacks coach and the receivers coach, and it was difficult. So year one, I think that we've had a full year in, the culture is starting to take care of itself. Now we are still right in the midst of a building process. We are far from what we want to be and where we want to be, but the boys have really taken charge, and when they start to lead like we want them to, then we'll know that the things that we're doing have really set in and are working.
Have you noticed with the players returning, I'm not doing as much teaching as I was last year, and we're doing a lot of refining, and I'm getting feedback from them, and we're working together. Have you started to notice that yet?
Oh, absolutely. Schematically, definitely, but also just culturally speaking, just the things that we don't have to say anymore, make sure you're holding your teammates accountable, and you're constantly reminding, but when they're doing it on their own, that they're starting to get it and they've really bought in, and they're kind of all in on, like I said, the schematics of the game plan, and in the locker room, in the weight room, on the practice field, culturally speaking.
I'm going to butcher his name. I think I butcher it every single time we talk about it. But what does your new offensive coordinator, see how my loophole there, how does he make this team better, and how does he make you better as a head coach?
Mike Manguno. All right, so we brought Mike over from Woodlawn. Really, it wasn't even supposed to be a coordinator thing right off the bat. A good friend of ours, Daniel Lequette, who's now at Hanville, was the head coach there. He took the OC job at Hanville, for family reasons, and suggested that I try to get Mike over here. He wanted to move to the North Shore. All of his family's here. He came in, sat down. He's brilliant. And I'm thinking to myself, boy, is this not a beautiful opportunity to have the ability to just be a head coach and probably be more the culture coordinator that I'd like to be than be the offensive coordinator. And we align very well as far as our thought processes offensively. We do a lot of the same things because of the people that we've worked with and learned from. And it's been really nice to be able to oversee a little bit and, like I said, delegate some and just be a head coach.
I always wanted to ask you this, and I forgot to ask you this when you hired him. We're all still people. From an ego standpoint, is it tough to give up the play calling, or you won't know until that first Friday night?
Well, we did it all the way through the spring, and then we had a spring game, and it went exceptionally well. He did a beautiful job of calling what I call a series instead of just kind of grab bagging plays. Which is how we always like to call it. So I wanted to see it in the flow of a game, and I thought it went exceptionally well. So is it going to be difficult on a Friday night? I don't know. I mean, obviously we don't know, but I have no doubt at some point I'm going to be like, whoa,
how would I do this?
What would we do this? I'm going to want to do that, but I think that if I didn't trust him, I wouldn't have hired him. And I wouldn't have hired him if I didn't want him to do his job. So I'm going to let him do his job. I think, everybody's got an ego, or else you wouldn't be good at what you do. And I was pretty good at calling plays, but I'm excited to see what he can bring to it, because it is a little different. It's definitely a little bit different. It's going to be a little bit more run heavy probably, but it doesn't hurt that we have a pretty good running back there, and that helps too. So
you said it. You're run heavy. If you're going to be run heavy, you've got to have an offensive line that's going to open up holes. Talk to me about who's up front in your rotation.
Yeah, so the one guy who comes back, who was really the anchor of the offensive line last year, and really kind of unexpectedly, Marshall Smith, who was an undersized guy last year, who we threw in there at center after we had some center problems, is the most consistent guy on the offensive line. He's a senior. He's a leader. So even-keeled. Such an offensive line temperament. A center who just knows everything. He's the smartest guy up there. And, he's going to get some preseason accolades. We found out the other day. He got, invited to go to the Louisiana Magazine photo shoot and things like that, because he's a great player. He's a great kid. So it starts there. The guard positions, we've rolled some guys through there. We have a couple of juniors, Colby Blanchard and Cooper McWilliams, who have been rolling through. Also Shane Young, who is a senior, has a lot of experience for us, ended up starting the last 6 or 7 games of the year last year. We have some tackles, and now one of our tackles is extremely developmental at this point, but he's also 6'8" and 340 pounds.
You can work with that.
Yeah, we can work with that. He's got SEC size and feet. Now, if he turns into an SEC player, that's on him, but that's Mackie Meadow, and he is, like I said, he's just enormous. When he walks in the room, it's like, oh boy, everybody notices him. We have another guy who's not new to football, but new to our team, Trevor Miller, and he's going to be a senior. Extremely athletic, but really the guy that we're counting on at tackle is a junior named Ben Latchway. Now Ben last year was extremely undersized and always moved incredibly well. If you watch drills and you watch Ben go through drills, you would say what he does is drill tape. He is exceptionally technical, has incredible feet, has the best work ethic of maybe any kid on the team, and has finally become a kid with his size that won't be overmatched because he was, he's just too small. Last year, just physically speaking, you're playing against a kid that weighs 260 and you weighed 185. It just didn't work out well. But he definitely committed himself and dedicated himself to putting on the weight over the summer and through the spring and the off season. And, I don't know, he's still not 220 pounds, but I can tell you he's much more physically equipped to go out there and play right tackle for us than he would have been at any point last year. So,
from a college prospect standpoint, everyone I talked to said Will Shepherd's great, but he's slow. But you know what? That's irrelevant because we're talking about Mandeville High football. He does some great things for you. He's your anchor of your wide receivers, but along with Will, who else is in there that's going to be, Todd's top targets?
Well, Will, and people love to use the word slow. If you think 4.62 is slow, then
I'm talking about the reason he's not.
I know, and that's what I'm saying. Yeah. People out there who think he's not a 5-star. Because let me tell you something. If you're 6'3" and you're 190 pounds and you run sub 4.5, if you're a 4.48 guy, you're an Alabama commit. Okay, you're a Florida commit. We do have a 6'3", 190-pound kid with a 41-inch vertical that runs 4.62. He's a specimen out there, and so of course he's the top target. We put him out there, and he can. I haven't seen him lose very many jump balls. The kid can go up and get it. He's got enormous hands. He's got great range. Catch radius for a wide receiver. He runs great routes. So we're excited about him, but everybody knows about him. All the offers and all that good stuff. I would say that the 4 guys that are behind him, or at least 3 at a time out there with him, it's a strong group. You got DeRaje Gaspard coming back. He's a senior. He's started at receiver for the past, the previous 2 years. It'll be his 3rd year starting. He's also extremely tough. He goes in there and plays quarterback for his son, a little Wildcat quarterback. He won 2 games as a quarterback last year. Catches the ball well, is extremely shifty. He's what we call twitchy. He gets out there and makes plays with the balls in his hand, and can return kicks, can return punts. Gabe Hughes, is going to be out there. He's a sophomore, going to be a junior now. 6'2", right at 200. Gabe is also a track guy. I mean, the guy runs a 200 and 400, so he can move. Big target, rangy, across the middle, goes in there. He's tough. He's not afraid to get hit. Dad's on staff. He's, our DB's coach and our athletic director, who was also a Division I college wide receiver. So he's got some pedigree there. And then the kind of the wild card that nobody really knows about because we just didn't put him in a varsity situation last year, even though he could have played there, is Landon Ibieta. He's going to be a sophomore. He's already a 5'11", 175, 180-pound kid that's a legitimate 4'4", and can fly. Great hands, maybe the best hands on the team aside from Shepard, and the dude can play the position. He can run the routes. He can take the top off. He's special. So.
You talked about we're going to be maybe run heavy more at times this year. There's a reason. Zon Diaz is a bad dude.
Absolutely.
It seems like when I talk to his teammates and when you just look at him physically, he's got the build and he's got the maturity this year of if he has to be, he can be a 30 carry guy and we're just going to pound you, and then in the fourth quarter he's busting a 60-yarder. Talk about his maturity and how much he's, just continues to just increase his talent.
Right. So Zon was kind of an anomaly last year for us because we didn't know. When I walk in, I don't know any of the kids, and I'm like, who is this freak show? Like, this kid is, like, really put together. I'm watching him in the weight room. I'm watching him run. He's the fastest dude on the team. And you're watching him go, and he says, I play slot. I'm like, you play the slot? You want to play receiver? I'm like, dude, if we just hand you the ball. But I think that he was kind of protecting himself last year and saying he played the slot because he wanted to get his hands on the ball. We had Charles Quinn here last year who was a good back. And we put Charles in early, and he was our senior, and we trusted him, but he just had a little bit of fumbling issues and things like that. So about week 4, we said, let's put Zon in there and see what he's got. So we put him in there for, I think it was the North Shore game, and he just blew it open. I mean, the guy can absolutely flat out run, and he's tough, and he's physical, and he's hard to tackle, and you see him here in the weight room, and he's a special cat. So we figured out he was the feature back, and towards the end of the year, he was getting 30 carries a game, and handling it beautifully. So it wasn't a big deal to think this year that we can go out there and put him out there and he's going to get his 25, 30 carries a game, and that's what we're counting on, and that's what he's counting on. And, so we're excited about it.
Who's also in that rotation, maybe give him a blow every so often, or maybe somebody you can get, hey, we want to get 2 to 3 touches for this guy or that guy.
Right. Well, we have in the backfield with him a sophomore named Douglas Mcgowan, who, again, we didn't want to put him in a varsity situation last year just because we knew what we had. We knew we were going to struggle last year, and we didn't want their first varsity experience to be a 3-6 season. So we put Douglas out there at freshman in JV ball, and it was almost unfair. So he's going to get some varsity touches this year. Actually, probably quite a few varsity touches this year because he had a varsity ready body as a freshman. He's not the burner that Zon is, but if you need 1.5 yards, 2 yards, it's almost guaranteed the kid can fall forward for that. He's a freshman who blows up the squat rack like it's nothing. So, and then we have another little speedster who is going to be a junior, Austin Vick, Nair, and he's electric with the football in his hands. Every time he touches the ball, it could be a 75, 80-yard touchdown because he can fly. He's got to get some more varsity experience, and we're looking to try to get him that early pre-district so that when we do get down the stretch and we need those carries from him, we can get him in there to do that, and he's got some experience.
Before we talk about Todd himself, I want to know, you're the quarterback whisperer, and you can, having Mike call the plays allows you to maybe pull aside whoever the quarterback is,
right,
so you can one-on-one more coaching with them. If you were writing a list on that board right over there, what are you looking to get out of the quarterback position this year? What are their responsibilities? And if they can do X, Y, and Z, we have the chance to be very successful this year.
Well, I think that when you coach at the high school level, I don't think you ever want to hang your hat on throwing the ball 50, 60 times a game. even when we were, I mean, you talk about Lakeshore all the time and the video game offense, and that kind of started while, Richard and I were working there together. We were throwing the ball all over the place. We had a guy that we trusted, and, but you still didn't want to hang your hat on being that guy. It's hard to put an entire football game on a kid's shoulders. And it's hard as a coach to allow a 15, 16-year-old kid to have the entire game on his shoulders. So you think, can you distribute the ball to all the playmakers that we just had this conversation about? Can you get the ball to Will Shepherd 10 times a game effectively? Can you get the ball to DeRege Gaspar 7 or 8 times a game? Can we make sure that when we're asking you to give the ball to Zon Diaz 25, 30 times a game, that you can also be enough of a threat that you're pulling guys in and you're opening things up for him to run? Can you get us in the right play when we call something and you see something that may look better? Are you confident and comfortable enough in our offense to just say, I think I'm going to throw this stick out here because nobody's covered. We see the uncovered, we make the throw. Those kind of things. We have a very quarterback-friendly offense in the sense that it's very free and it's very open to interpretation for him. And what we need out of them is the work ethic to know the ins and outs of it. And when you see something that's going to give us an advantage from your vantage point, which is always better than mine as a coach or Mike's as a coach, you're standing there looking at it. Are you going through your checks pre-snap? Are you making sure that you're seeing the things that we need you to see? And then are you then taking advantage of the things that you saw? And that's really what we need from a quarterback in this system.
Is Tom capable of doing it this year?
Yeah, so about the arm talent. I mean, he can throw any ball that you need him to throw. He can throw a football through a brick wall if you need him to. The kid's got a cannon. But my question is always, physically speaking, are you out there working on the things that you're not good at? So if you're having problems throwing a rollout, are you out there after practice throwing 15 rollouts in either direction? Are you in your playbook? Are you understanding the checks and those? So I think that he's done a good job through the summer, through the spring especially, and then through the summer. I hate 7-on-7, and I think I've told you this before. I don't really like 7-on-7. It teaches.
It's not a good judge of things.
No, and it teaches my quarterbacks bad habits. I don't know when on earth we're ever going to get the New England Patriots line here where we have 4.5 seconds to throw a ball. Right. It's just not realistic. But, I thought that outside of 7-on-7 stuff, being a practice player and things like that, he worked extremely hard. He did things on his own. I drive by the field. He's out here throwing with his receivers. He's organizing 7-on-7s and just throwing sessions on his own. So I think he does understand what we need from him. I think he does understand that if he can get it together, he can be one of the best quarterbacks to ever play at this school. But it's going to be on him, and the work ethic that he has and what he puts in. And I think that he's shown enough for us to know that he's our guy. For this system, he's our guy.
My last question on this side of the ball, and we're going to take a break and talk about defense. How much of a weapon? Obviously, all you really want him doing is kicking off and kicking extra points. But how much of a weapon can Caden Costa be for you?
Caden's a phenomenal athlete. He's not just a kicker or a punter, or he goes out there and plays receiver. He can run routes and catch balls, and he's also like a backup quarterback. So you talk about a weapon. I mean, you can line up in almost any formation with Caden Costa on the field, and he's going to be a threat in some capacity. Now, what he does with his leg is phenomenal. I mean, the kid can kick 60-yard field goals. He can kick it out the back of the end zone. We decided we were going to do special teams in the spring scrimmage, and when we got done, Bonneville's head coach was just like, well, I don't know why you kicked off. He's kicking it out the back of the end zone every time. The kid can just absolutely boom a ball. Now, he's going to take over punting responsibilities this year, too, because, our punter moved to Memphis. Dad got a new job, moved to Memphis. So, but Caden, yeah, man. And look, you talk about work ethic. I mean, if it was up to him, he'd be out there every day after practice kicking balls. I have to tell him sometimes, like, you need to take a break. He's been to Vegas. He goes to this camp and that camp and is constantly trying to perfect his craft. So he's a special kid, And not to mention he's, 4.0 student and phenomenal human being and all that good stuff. So, yeah, he's a weapon, all right.